Hi, my name is Lachelle Weemy, and I am so excited to welcome you to this little video that I put together for the 5 main tips that I have for you if you are considering starting a side business. And oh my goodness, I am so happy that you're even considering this because here's the deal. Our lives are so much more than just surviving. Our lives are so much more than living to work. Our lives are so much more because there is a bigger way to serve, a bigger way to give back, a bigger legacy to have. Our lives can be better if we're open to the opportunity and if we're open to considering all of the things that we can in order to make our lives better. So I'm going to start out by just telling you a little bit about me, and then I'm going to get into what you care about, which is really what you should be thinking about if you're wanting to start a side business alongside what you're doing. Now, I have a very special surprise for you at the end of this video, so stay tuned because I cannot wait to share that with you, but it's at the very, very end, so stay tuned. I have to tell you that being open to starting side businesses has been a huge part of my success and the success that I have seen in people around me, and so I'm so excited to see that you're at least open to making your life better, because here's the deal, right? I think all of us really want a better life. Maybe it's just a better financial situation. Maybe you just want to get out of debt. Maybe you want that house of your dreams. Maybe you just really want to be able to save up for that car or that vacation. Maybe it's better in terms of your quality of life. Maybe you never get to see your kids right now and you want to. Maybe you never get to take vacation because of your work situation. There are so many things that can be better, including the legacy that we leave for our loved ones when we're gone. So let's get into better. Now, I'm gonna introduce a little bit about myself, and then I'm gonna get into like how the heck this is gonna apply to you and things that you should consider. I'm a nurse anesthetist. I get the privilege of doing anesthesia, keeping people safe and asleep for surgery. I'm a former professor, so I had the immense gratitude to be able to help teach students how to do anesthesia and to just be amazing human beings. I'm a mom, I'm a wife to my high school sweetheart, and my husband and I are in a situation where we want to be able to share our financial situation with people that are wanting better. You see, a couple of years ago, I had gotten the chance to be able to be introduced to Dave Ramsey. My husband and I bought this junky old pickup truck and we would drive around, and it didn't even have FM radio. And so we were listening to Dave Ramsey on the radio because there was nothing else to listen to. And I absolutely fell in love with his principles, how to help people get debt free, how to live within our means, and how to have a better life so that we can live and later give like no one else. And so the two of us really took on his philosophy. We are currently debt-free except for our mortgage. We paid for all of our graduate education with cash and scholarships and different ways to not have to incur debt. We have all of our vehicles paid for, and the two of us worked really, really hard a couple of years ago to save up enough cash to be able to build this beautiful barn. We wanted a place for our kids to someday be able to have their friends over, play games, and watch movies and, you know, have all the fun that we never had when we were kids. And so I'm so grateful that our debt-free journey led us to that opportunity. Now, because I had so much amazing respect for Dave Ramsey and the things that he had done for our life, I really wanted to give back. And so a few years ago, I became a Dave Ramsey Financial Peace Coordinator, which means that I am certified to be able to share his teachings with anybody who wants to get debt-free and to be able to live a life better than what they're currently living. And so it's been such a privilege. Now, I have to tell you that there are a couple of things that should be kind of clicking in your mind when you're thinking, do I even want to start a side business? And in my opinion, the answer is yes, but this has to be something that you have to decide, because the reality is that nothing comes like that, right? You're gonna have to sacrifice something. Maybe it's a little bit of time, maybe it's initial upfront cost, maybe it's just, you know, your stability or your sense of comfort zone. But I promise you that if you're open and you're willing to grow, it's all gonna be so worth it. But there's 3 things that I want to talk to you really quickly about why you should start a side business, and then we're going to get into the tips of what you should look for, okay? Now, the first one is obvious. you want to be able to make more money, right? Because it's going to allow you to do the things that you want to do. You're going to be able to buy more, you're going to be able to do more, you're going to be able to spend more time with the people that you love or doing the things that you love. And so anytime we can get a bigger shovel, right, we can add more to our pile. We can add more to our debt payoff. We can add more to our savings. We can add more to that vacation fund. We can add more to the kids' college fund. It's just common sense. So adding more money, adding a bigger shovel is going to be the first thing to getting you back on the right track and back to a better track, right? Now, the second thing that we often forget about is this amazing thing called tax incentives for small businesses. So if you just have a corporate job right now and you don't have a side business, this might be a completely new concept for you, but keep in mind that there are so many benefits to having a small business that include tax write-offs for things like an office, your cell phone, your mileage, lunch dates with clients and such. And so these are amazing, amazing incentives that allow you to better position yourself in your tax situation. So if anything, creating a side business for the mere benefits of the taxes is something that you should definitely consider. Now, the third thing that I really want you to acknowledge here is that so many of us, when we work, when we go to college, when we do our training in order to have the job that we have, most of us are literally trading time for money. It's a fee-for-service type job. What that means is that we put in our time, we put in our activity, and then we're compensated for that. It is what I would consider a linear form of income. What that means is that we work, we get paid. Now, we essentially get paid right off the bat, right? But most likely we have a cap on what that is, and then as soon as we stop working, that all goes away. I'm a visual learner, so I'm going to show you with this. So we have income here, and then this is our work, time, and energy invested. And so this is what happens when we take on a job fee for service, right? We go to college, we get our job, and we work. And most likely we're going to get compensated well. We're going to get a small raise over the years. And then what's going to happen is we're going to retire, or we get sick, or any of that happens, and our income drops off, right? What I think that we have to consider when we are wanting to start a side business is whether or not we can bring in an additional revenue stream that adds a different component to our income. What that means is, does it offer a passive or residual income stream? What that means is that you do something upfront and it's going to pay for itself over and over and over time without you doing the same activity. Now, this is what happens with that. Most often, you're going to put in a lot of time, effort, and energy up front, and you're not really going to see the income. That is just literally what happens with entrepreneurship, and it's something to be expected. But what's going to happen is, as you do that, you're going to start seeing that the things that you've been doing are going to start to compound. And eventually your income is going to go up very rapidly. So very, very small at the beginning, but once it hits that threshold, it's going to go up very, very dramatically. And so your chance to actually earn more money from that activity is much, much higher because there isn't a ceiling. Now, what beautiful part about residual or passive income is that the activity that you did back here is going to pay for itself long term. And when you stop working, let's say you get hurt, let's say that you decide to completely retire and take a cruise around the world, because the systems that you have are set up, it's going to continue to pay for itself over time. An example of that would be like the stock market. So that's not really a side job, but a stock market you invest at the beginning, and then eventually, hopefully it pays off in the end. Another example of that would be real estate. You buy, a property, you pay a lot of capital up front, and then over time that investment grows, and then once you sell it, you get that gain back. Another one that is really, really beneficial and actually underutilized is things like network marketing. Network marketing allows for you to essentially create your own business, and then you teach somebody else how to do exactly what you do. And then when they're successful, you get a small return on that investment of whatever they're selling. And most of the plans that I've researched have the ability for people to earn a lot of money over time by just creating leaders, teaching people what to do, and doing it well. Now, what I like about that stream specifically is that unlike the stock market and unlike the real estate, there's a little less risk with that, and you have less capital up front. So it's definitely something to consider. One thing that I hear sometimes is people say, well, I don't necessarily want, other people making money off of me. And the reality is that any good network marketing company is actually going to give you a direct correlation to what work you're putting out. So for example, if I am working harder than the person who introduced me to the business, I can out earn them. And so the real incentive here is that you figure out what to do, you follow a system, and you teach other people how to be successful. You're just naturally going to benefit from that. So definitely something that's worth to consider. So if you haven't thought about the residual income, the long-term versus the linear, definitely consider that. Now, let's go into my 5 tips that I have for what you are deciding to actually partner with or what you're going to actually do. The first tip that I have is I want you to consider where you're at with your values. Now, I've recognized that my husband, for example, is a very stable man. He likes stability, he likes his comfort zone, he doesn't really want to take big risks. And so somebody like my husband is going to be much more apt to finding something that has a smaller investment versus one that requires a lot of capital and a lot of risk. And so if that's you, you might want to consider something that is going to be a little less upfront, but can have the potential for a large gain overall, okay? Now, the second thing that I want you to consider is how what you're going to choose aligns with your realistic expectations for resources. And that means time and money, okay? So for example, again, how much money are you able to put up front? Now, if I were to buy, let's say, a Chick-fil-A franchise, I would have to come up with a lot of money up front, and I would have to come up with a lot of time investment as well. But I might, that might be a good fit for me. But let's say that I wanted to really get into real estate. I might not have the time requirement of that, but I'm definitely gonna have a big upfront investment. And if you follow Dave Ramsey, technically you should be paying for those investment properties with cash. So you're gonna need that big shovel. You're gonna need that cash to be able to have that initial investment paid for right up front anyway, right? And so you're gonna wanna consider what resources do you have, both time and money. Now, time is a big thing. If you're considering partnering with a company, let's say that they have a product-based company that you wanna partner with, you believe in the company, you believe in the projections, you think that it'd be a good fit for you, it aligns well with your goals, it aligns well with your comfort level as far as risk-benefit ratio, and the initial buy-in to become a franchise owner with that company is very, very small. But that company requires you to carry all of the inventory yourself and have to sell your own inventory versus the company directly shipping to people. That what if the company is requiring you to exchange money? That's additional time that you have to deal with exchanging the money, dealing with the bank, etc. Versus a company that is going to directly ship and basically allow customers to purchase from the website directly so that you don't have to deal with any of that. That's a time consideration. The other thing that a lot of product-based businesses have you do is create parties. And honestly, that was something when I was looking for another business, I just did not have the time to invest in, is showing up to different parties. And so if that's something that is definitely a no-go for you, there are opportunities out there that do not require parties. And so just use that as a consideration when you're trying to decide which one is going to align best for you. Okay. Now, my third tip is to consider the projections of the company that you're thinking about. So, for example, let's say that you are just looking at starting a Medi Spa in your hometown. Okay. Medi Spas are going to be great because the projection of skincare is very high, and people are continually wanting to look better. People are continually aging. People are continually getting, their first wrinkle or their first sunspot or whatever there is. So the projection is good. But you also have to consider where you're living and the geographical location that you can serve. So if you are thinking about opening a med spa, for example, as a side business, you have to consider the equipment, you have to consider the upfront cost of the building, the employees if you have any. You're again trading time for money, and you have to be confined to the geographical location. Somebody has to be within driving distance to be able to use your services, versus an online business that could take advantage of that same market share, but in a different way. So maybe it's selling online skincare products that you're able to have drop shipped to anywhere in the world. Your geographical location is much bigger versus the people who are within driving distance of your business. Now, that brings me to another consideration. If you're considering a product, I want you to just keep in mind that number one, you have to believe in it. You have to enjoy using it yourself, because nobody is going to buy into whatever it is that you're doing if you're not sold yourself, okay? So it has to be something that you're passionate about. But if you can get past that, one of the things that I want you to consider is whether or not there is a long-term gain for that industry, okay? So let's just say that you are into athletic wear. Now, right now, the trend is everybody's wearing athletic wear, especially in the stage of COVID and nobody's going anywhere. So you want to get in on that, but here's the deal. When people start opening up stores and businesses and life gets back into normal, I'm going to guess that less people are going to want to put on their yoga pants and more people are going to want to put on that cute skirt and feel good. And so the long-term projections might not be there as much as the wellness industry or say the skincare industry. And so bear that in mind. The other thing that I want you to consider is whether or not the product is consumable. Now, I love my cleaning supplies, my rags and my mops and everything. They're amazing. And I think that they're best out there. But here's the deal. Once I have enough, I have enough. I don't need to keep buying more. But if you're considering a supplement or a skincare product, for example, somebody's going to run out of that product and they're going to need to replace that. And so thinking about a consumable product that people are going to want to continue to consume is going to be really big for you, okay? Now, the other thing to consider in here is evergreen. And evergreen is something that means that there's always going to be a new market for that product. And so, for example, wellness is another example I'm going to give you, where there always is going to be people who step on the scale on a given day and they're heavier than they thought they were and they're ready for a change. Or there's always going to be somebody who looks in the mirror, they see their first wrinkle or their first pimple and they're like, oh, I need to do something about it. People are born with skin every single day. People are tipping the scales every single day. That problem is not going to go away. So those are evergreen industries that are going to continue to grow and grow and grow, okay? You're also going to want to think about how much revenue a given product is going to give you. So for example, if I sold, let's say, a $10 product, how many $10 products am I going to have to sell in order to make a decent income, right? Versus if I sold a $150 product, how much income could I get from that? And so I'm going to get much more return on my investment or return on my time investment by selling something that is a little bit more substantial versus something that is of tiny little value. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to think about when it's a product-based business is, what are the testimonies already showing? Does the company already provide evidence that the products work? And if even better, if you personally have tried them, you feel very convicted that the products are going to be a great service to the people that you talk to about. And the last consideration that I want you to think about is, how much support are you going to get? Because here's the deal. There are so many entrepreneurs out there who are literally just kind of winging it and they're kind of left out there to dry, and they have to purchase coaching, purchase training, purchase, programs and this and that. There are lots of businesses out there that provide automatic training for you. They give you everything that you could possibly need to be successful because they're invested in you. They recognize that when you're successful, they're successful, and it's a marriage and it's a circle, and they're invested in you. So if you are somebody who really wants to make sure that you have all of the support that you need, look for a company that has that support, that has leaders, that has a team available to help you be successful, because that is going to be the best extra gift that you could ever ask for. Now, I promised you at the end of this video that I was going to give you a little surprise. So here it is. I absolutely love my side business. I started it when I was crazy busy. I was working full time. I had my kids, my husband. I was traveling the country speaking. I was in my graduate program getting my doctorate degree. Like, I didn't have time, but I saw the potential in this, and I decided to give it a try. And I decided to dedicate, an hour a day into my life in order to have my long-term vision for myself and my family be achieved. And within about 6 months, I was making enough money to be able to drop my time at the hospital and as an anesthesia provider by a day a week. And within about 2.5 years, I was able to resign from my professor job and work directly with patients in the operating room a couple days a week, and spending the rest of my time with my family and working my business in part-time hours. I would love to be able to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing to see if it's a good fit for you, because ultimately I just want all of us to have a better life. I want all of us to have options to have the things that we want, to have the time freedom we want, to not have to stay awake at night worrying about how we're going to pay for our daughter's college, or dreaming of the vacations that we see other people take on social media. So if you are ready to hear a little bit more about what I'm doing, I would love so much for you to sign up for the webinar that I have. There's a couple of different choices that you'll notice. Sign up for the one that you need. And oh my goodness, I cannot wait to be a small part of the journey, walking alongside of you so that you can be the hero of the next chapter of your life.